quicksand. You ever do half a track and then 9 months later do the other half? Funny enough, that is what we are doing today. We're setting off on the Dart Valley. Some of you might remember we attempted the Rees Valley in winter without crampons and an ice axe, and so we could not get over the saddle. So today, an event 9 months in the making. For the next several days, we'll be trekking up the Dart Valley, go check out a glacier or two, stop in some nice huts, and try to avoid the vicious sandflies that the Dart Valley is known for as we make our way into this beautiful section of Mount Aspiring National Park. So the first hut, they say it takes about 3.5 to 5.5 hours. That's Daly's Flat Hut. I think it's around 10 miles, so we'll see how we can go. But already, the valley looking tremendously beautiful. Well, I have to say, so far, compared to the Rees Valley side, this is pretty cruisy, as they say around here. Pretty cruisy. There's so many little slips on the other side, and it was real boggy over the winter. I could see how this meadow we just went through could be boggy in the winter here, but you're not going off the trail because of slips and having to go down and up, and it's really, really nice. Almost pretty similar to a great walk so far. Cruisy, enjoyable. Nice views of the mountains across the river, and yeah, forest is nice and alive with bird life, so pretty sweet. Well, there's definitely been some rerouting on the track here. Some new bridges, and it looks like they might have taken this track away from the river. I'm not sure when that would have happened, but they must have had some slips or something due to some flooding, just like the Rees track. So maybe the Rees track right now looks a lot different from when we did it in winter. And they just completely rerouted that away from all the slips that we dealt with over winter. But wow, I gotta say, good work. Some nice new bridges, nice wide track. Look at this. I mean, this is like great walk style here, and it is kind of billed as an alternative to the Great Walk, an alternative to Route Burn. If the huts are all booked out, come over here to Rees-Dart or Greenstone Caples Track. So apparently there's quicksand along this river here. We've seen signs warning about that, so they're real serious about sticking to the track. So I'm not sure if it drops down lower, closer to the river. But if you come out here, definitely be aware quicksand. The section with these dead trees is just very eerie. Just a big flood of the river took out these trees. I guess the roots couldn't handle the deluge of water, and stunning scenery here. This is, I'm not sure, but I think I like this side better than the Rees Valley. I mean, the Rees Valley was beautiful in winter with the snow-capped peaks, but wow. I mean, this is pretty amazing. Sam is going to demonstrate how to survive quicksand. So, honey, go in the direction of that warning sign.
No!
Go to the left and show us. Show us the technique. Come on, we need to know. How do you survive quicksand? That could be quicksand right there. How do you know? Somebody walked all across this. Look at the footprints. Oh, yeah, I can see his head poking out over there. Well, good morning from the Daly's Flat Hut. Was surprisingly tired yesterday when we got here. It took about 5.5 hours. Relatively flat, other than a few sections where there was a lot of up and down through some roots and down trees. It's a beautiful hut here, overlooking the river and the mountains in the background. However, the sandflies are vicious here. So I don't want to spend too much time outside this morning, but just a beautiful, beautiful hut when you ignore the sandflies. And they're actually, this morning, not as bad as they were last night when we got here, but probably another long day, 5-6 hours, something like that. And another beautiful clear day, epic views. And supposedly the next hut, the Dart Hut, we talked to some people on the way down, they said the sandflies are not as bad up there, so sweet. Forgot to mention, I think they just recently raised their prices for these huts, because I'm pretty sure when we did it in winter, it was $15 a night per person. Oh, sandflies. But so now it's $20 a night per person, and you prepay for the hut tickets at the dock office, or you can, I think you can still use the backcountry hut pass for these huts as well. So those are, oh, gotta get out of here, sandflies. They're swarming me because I got the black on. Well, so far, it is much less boggy than when we did the Rees Valley in winter. So a lot of these flats, these meadows, all around the other side during winter, and probably on this side during winter, I would assume too, just so boggy, ankle to knee deep. So I could see why they primarily recommend doing this during the summer, although those snow-capped peaks on the other side during winter were beautiful, as long as you avoid those avalanche paths. But yeah, a lot more, I don't know, mellow, easier. You're not trudging through the bog. You're not trudging knee deep through muddy, grassy swampland. Plus, I would say with the addition of the quicksand, I'm not sure if there's quicksand on the other side, but that makes going through boggy sections a little more precarious. Back in the forest now, I think pretty much for the rest till we get to the next hut. We're in the forest, which is good because those mossy, or those flats, those grass flats were getting pretty heated up. Those grass flats were getting pretty warm with no shade, for sure. Long extended periods of no shade. But good to be back in the forest now. About 8 hours. It was a long day. Beautiful morning here at Dart Hut. Actually got woken up by 6 Kias jumping on the roof and came out just before they took off with some of our gear that we left outside. So Dart Hut took about 8 hours yesterday. We were going real slow, and I think part of that was the lack of shade in those grassy meadow areas. So it's going to be a lot easier going back down because it's downhill. But now we're just reevaluating what our plans were. Initially, we had thought about going to the Whitbourne Glacier, which there's not really a track to. It's more of a bush bash. There's no bridge across the river, and the river moving pretty high. So now we're figuring out if we're going to go to Cascade Saddle or the Dart Glacier. Cascade Saddle gives you views of the Dart Glacier, so just going to go finish up some breakfast and figure out our plans. So headed up to the Cascade Saddle now. Epic views of Mount Aspiring, the Dart Glacier, the Rees Valley, Matukituki Valley, I believe. It's gonna be a long day, possibly 8 to 12 hours up and back. And at least I have the smaller day pack on today, so hopefully not as tough as yesterday. We're getting a bit of a late start, so should hopefully make it back before dark. Pretty sure that is Cascade Saddle up there. That's where we're going. So we're going up this way, and then we're not going to drop all the way down there. Probably stay up on the flat area and then get some views above this, and on the other side it's going to be sweet. Made it to Cascade Saddle. Epic views of the Matukituki Valley up there, and of course the Dart Glacier, which we have been looking at the whole way up. So we're gonna go a little further up to see if we can get some views kind of up that way. Supposedly you can see Mount Aspiring, which I think is around the bend of this. Let's go a little higher up and see that, but absolutely epic. So 2 hours up from when it started to go straight up. 2 hours up, and we left the hut at 9:30, so 4.5 hours to this point. So going pretty slow, but it's It's worth it. Once again, this is what makes New Zealand special. 2.5 days hike in, and you're gifted with scenery like this. And we were just talking about how in Nepal, obviously the scale is bigger, but to get into views like this, you're hiking for a week, sometimes longer. So the epicness of just relatively short hike into the mountains, and this is the type of stuff you can see. Just glaciers and epic peaks and valleys and waterfalls, all symbolic of this natural beauty of New Zealand. And I am feeling it today. I am exhausted.
Infamous.